Hey everyone, Brad Palladini with Palladini Law, and today we are talking about how much tax attorneys cost. So I'm going to discuss the 3 different ways that tax attorneys typically charge, and then I'll go over the pros and cons of each method. All right, so there are 3 different ways that most tax attorneys will charge for their services. Option 1 is a flat fee. So you hire the attorney for a specific service, and they will charge you a flat fee of, let's just say, $8,000. And so you pay them $8,000 to complete that service. That's option 1. Option 2 is a flat monthly rate. So instead of paying the attorney $8,000 all at once, the attorney will charge you $500 a month for the life of the case. So from start to finish, you are paying this attorney $500. Option 3 is the hourly method, or the traditional law firm model, where you pay the attorney a retainer. That retainer goes into an attorney trust account, and you pay them hourly for the work that they complete on your case. So let's talk about the pros and the cons of each method. So option 1, again, was a flat rate. Some clients really like this because they know what the cost is going to be ahead of time. They are paying the attorney $8,000 for the case, $5,000 for the case, $20,000 for the case. Whatever the number is, it's a fixed cost. That would be the pro. On the con side, that fixed fee is often very limited to a specific service. So when you hire an attorney to do something for you, let's say you hire an attorney to do a streamlined installment agreement, and they charge you a flat fee of $5,000. Then the attorney contacts the IRS and realizes you don't qualify for a streamlined installment agreement. Your case is actually assigned to a specific revenue officer, and now we need to do a negotiated installment agreement, not a streamlined installment agreement. In that case, the negotiated installment agreement is not covered under the fee agreement. So the attorney would come back to you and say, look, you paid me $5,000 for a streamlined installment agreement. This isn't actually a streamlined installment agreement case. It's actually a negotiated agreement. And the charge is actually going to be $10,000. And so you owe me an additional $5,000. Or let's say it is a streamlined installment agreement, and the attorney reviews your case and says, look, I think you might be eligible for penalty relief. And you say, great, let's do it. And the attorney says, okay, but now you have to pay me an additional $2,000 because that's not covered under the fee agreement. So if you're going to pay an attorney a flat fee for tax services or for any services, you need to read the scope of the engagement very carefully to make sure you understand what is covered under that agreement and what is not covered under that agreement. Option 2 is paying the attorney a flat monthly rate. So from the start of the case to the end of the case, you agree to pay that attorney $500. And again, clients like that approach because paying an attorney $500 a month might be more manageable than paying a lump sum of $5,000 all at once. So that would be a big pro of this method. One of the cons is you don't know how long a case is going to last. And the attorney really doesn't know how long a case is going to last. We are beholden to IRS delays. And so even if the attorney is doing everything as quickly as possible, there could be a long period of waiting for any sort of IRS response. So for example, let's say you hire an attorney to do a penalty abatement and you agree to pay them $500 a month until the end of the case. You pay them starting on March 1st, and by March 10th, the attorney is super fast. He's already filed the penalty abatement for you. It could be 6 to 18 months before you get any sort of response from the IRS. And during this period, you are still obligated to pay them the $500 a month. Now, in theory, it should balance out, right? Because in this case, the attorney did a ton of work in the first 10 days and only got paid $500 for the month. And now in months 2 through 17, he's still getting that $500 a month and essentially making up for the fact that, he was underpaid the first month of the agreement. But sometimes these cases get dragged on through no fault of the attorney, through no fault of yours, and you end up paying them $500, $600, $700 a month for a very long time, which can get frustrating. That would be a con of the flat fee model. One of the other cons of paying an attorney a flat fee is that the attorney is incentivized to do less work on your case. Now, all attorneys and law firms are under ethical obligations to advocate for you effectively, but that can mean a lot of different things. And so there is a practical reality to lawyers and law firms. Law firms have employees, and those employees might get paid hourly or a salary. It doesn't really matter. So if you hire a law firm for a case and he assigns or she assigns an associate attorney to work on that case, and that attorney is getting paid $100 an hour, if they charge you a flat fee of, let's say, $4,000, and that attorney spends 1,000 hours working on your case, that attorney is now underwater. He now has to pay his attorney more than he got for that case. And so the incentive for the law firm is to have the attorney assigned to the case do the least amount of work as possible to maximize the return. Again, there are ethical obligations, and so I'm not saying they won't do an adequate job for you or even a good or great job for you, but there is a practical reality to maximizing the return on that particular case. The same thing is true with the flat monthly fee, where they are incentivized to do perhaps less work on the case to maximize the value because they don't want to get underwater on the case. And this leads to another con of either the flat fee or the flat monthly fee. They're often going to charge a fee that is higher than what you would pay them hourly. That's been my experience talking to other firms who charge flat rates, because no attorney, no person wants to get burned. You kind of have this loss aversion where if I'm getting $4,000 for a case and I have marketing costs and I have costs for my employees and I have costs for my insurance, I want to make sure that I can pay everyone I have to pay and still make a profit. So I don't want it to be that one case where, yeah, I think it's going to take 10 hours to do, and so I decide to charge you $2,000, but it actually takes 20 hours to do, and now I'm losing money on the case because I've had to pay my employees more than what I got paid. So they will often charge a higher fee to prevent that from happening. So if they think a case is going to take, let's say, 10 hours worth of time, they may quote you for a fee that is roughly 15 hours to make sure that if it does take longer than expected, they are still making a profit, or at the very least breaking even and not losing money on any particular case. There was a recent, not a tax law case, but a recent case in the South where a gentleman was appealing the death penalty conviction. So he was set to be executed, and his attorneys at appeals made the argument that his attorneys at the initial trial were ineffective. And the reason for their argument was that the attorneys had charged a flat fee of $12,000 to handle a double homicide capital murder case. And they figured, given the amount of work that usually goes into a capital murder case, those attorneys who received $12,000 for the entire case were getting paid $3 an hour for their work, because those cases take a tremendous amount of work. And so on appeals, the attorneys were essentially arguing that counsel was ineffective because who's going to do a good job getting paid $3 an hour for their work? Now, shifting into the last option, which is the traditional hourly retainer. Again, in that model, you pay the attorney a security deposit, essentially. So let's say it's a $5,000 retainer. That money goes into an attorney trust account, and that money is yours. It's not the attorney's. If you pay them the $5,000 and then the next day you decide, hey, I don't want to work with you, they're legally and ethically obligated to give that money back unless they did work on the case. So attorneys in that model can only keep money for the work that they do. If they take a $5,000 retainer and they do $2,000 worth of work, they have to give you the $3,000 back. That would be a pro to that model. Now, a con is if you give them $5,000 and it ends up costing them $6,000, you would have to pay them that additional $1,000. So you don't know what the ultimate fee will be, but you are paying the attorney for the work that they do on the case. And so the attorney is not necessarily incentivized to take shortcuts on your case or to do the least amount of work as possible because they are relaxed in knowing that they will get paid for the work that they do. Now, some people are concerned that attorneys will overbill and overinflate their fees in order to maximize the value for their case. I would say that is less typical in certain practice areas than others. For instance, in tax, we're dealing mostly with small business owners, and there is certainly a limit to what small business owners can pay for legal services. And so, you could try to fluff your bill to $50,000 for the month, but the reality is if they owe the IRS $5 million, they're probably not going to pay you. right? So they have to make sure that the bill is fair and reasonable in order to continue doing work on the case and get paid. Those are the 3 different models that attorneys will charge for their services. What is the best model? I don't know. I think there are certainly pros and cons to each model. I don't think any one model is perfect. I talked to a lot of other tax attorneys who bill either hourly, who bill a flat rate, or bill a flat monthly rate, and they all have complaints about each model, even from their side. And clients on the other side of it also complain about each model. They may not like the flat monthly because the case lasts 2 years. They may not like the flat upfront fee because they have to pay $8,000 at once. And they may not like paying the hourly rate because they don't like getting their bills every month and having to potentially to pay more. So I don't think there's any one perfect model, but I would love to hear your feedback and what model you would be most likely to pay for. So leave a comment and let me know. If you have any other questions about how attorneys bill, you can also leave those in the comments. Thanks.